Let's move on to main topic number 2, shall we? And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Patrick Brown, who writes, "Hello, John." Hello there, Patrick. Chris Hemsworth recently decided, wait a second, where did I go? I lost my place here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Chris Hemsworth recently did an interview saying how he has no plans to retire as Thor. This makes sense because the truth is, aside from Extraction, which according to Netflix is their most watched original film, and it's not very good to be. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people liked it. I thought it was just a flat out bad movie, but whatever. Aside from Extraction, which according to Netflix is their most watched original film, all of Hemsworth's films outside of the MCU haven't been successful, either at the box office or with awards. So why would he want to give up the one thing that's working for him? What are your thoughts on his interview? All right, thanks a lot for writing that in. And yes, one of the big questions that's been surrounding the MCU has obviously been with people like Scarlett Johansson apparently exiting the MCU, Chris Evans apparently exiting the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. apparently exiting the MCU. Mark Ruffalo saying right now there's not even any solid play. He may pop up in She-Hulk, but he says I've had no meetings. I don't, maybe he's gone. That all the original Avengers, their contracts were ending, and Chris Hemsworth's contract did end as well. But clearly he re-upped and signed again because we got Thor Love and Thunder coming, which is another Thor movie. Well, again, the speculation then turned to, will this be his final one? But he's saying, nope, no way. This is not my last go-round playing Thor. As a matter of fact, he came out and said the following. This is in the Variety article. When asked if Thor would retire, if Thor would retire after the upcoming movie, Hemsworth asserted that it would not be the end for his character. Are you crazy? I'm not going into any retirement period. Thor is far too young for that. He's only 1,500 years old, he said. It's definitely not a film that I say goodbye to. It's definitely not a film that I say goodbye to this brand in. At least, I hope so, because of course, ultimately, he's not the one who's in charge of making that decision. That'll be Disney. Why is somebody like Chris Hemsworth being so adamant? As you read the rest of the article, he's very enthusiastic about it. He says, I am nowhere near done playing Thor. You're going to get more Thor out of me. So why is he so gangbusters to continue to play it when you've had some people like Chris Evans saying, it's time to move on from Captain America? Or you got people like Robert Downey Jr. saying, it's time to move on from Iron Man. And by the way, you're going to see Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., you're going to see them all back. They're going to be back. Again, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, maybe not in 3 years. They'll be back. Mark my words. Anyway, what is it about Chris Hemsworth that goes, I just love this character? Listen, has he had any big, huge box office breakouts, Rob? No. He hasn't had any, outside of the MCU, he hasn't had the biggest box office breakouts. But he's had some critical success. He's had critical success. What's that Ron Howard movie he did with Daniel Bruhl? The race car, the true story based on the race cars. I'm trying to remember the actual name of the movie, and I'm freezing on it because I love that movie.
I want to say Driven, but that's the Rennie Harlan movie.
Yeah, that's a different.
I love that movie too. It's
it's fantastic. Anyway, go check that out. He has had critical success. He's been seen as being quite good, but yeah, he hasn't had any big box office hits. That's fine. He's not the producer of those movies, whatever. I think it comes down to a very simple answer, Rob. Rush, thank you. Fabulous movie. If you have not seen it, check it out. You got Zemo and Thor in it together. Daniel Bruhl, I think Daniel Bruhl got like several major award nominations for that role as well. But here's the point. I think the simplest answer here is probably the most apt, which is this. Chris Hemsworth loves playing this character. Now, I think like many other actors, you play the same character for too long, maybe you start to get a little bit fatigued. And I think he was starting to get a little bit fatigued when it came to Thor. I think he was getting a little bit fatigued. But now then you hear him talking about Taika Waititi coming along and bringing new dimensions to Thor and breathing new life into Thor. And the audiences loved Thor Ragnarok. But more importantly, Chris Hemsworth himself, it breathed new life into his love for the character. And it got him excited about the character again. And according to him, he said the script for Thor Love and Thunder, he said, this is way better than Thor Ragnarok. I can't wait to get on set and start shooting this thing. I'm dying to get out there and start shooting this thing. If you can keep his enthusiasm level at that level, Rob, then yeah, it's not surprising to me that he wants to continue playing it. He has great success playing it. He's had great personal satisfaction playing it. And it's just a role that really has made him a household name. So I'm not surprised to hear this. And I fully expect, even though it'll be Disney's call and they could decide to retire Thor any minute, but even as we got to the end of Endgame, we started seeing Marvel realizing, hey, we can use Thor in a lot of different ways. Put him on a ship with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Do this with them. Do that. I mean, he's a Swiss Army knife of a character that you can use him seriously, dramatically, tragically, lightheartedly, comedically, adventure. You can use this character in a lot of different ways. I expect we're going to see Chris Hemsworth playing Thor for at least another 3 or 4 movies, to be honest with you. Anyway, Rob, you saw this interview and the stuff that Chris Hemsworth was saying. What's your take on it?
First of all, can we just talk about how Chris Hemsworth is like my hero? He's incredibly handsome. He's married to Elsa Pataki, we saw her in Fast 5. Who wouldn't want to be married to her? He's got 3 kids. Apparently, he's like the nicest guy in the world. He's 37 years old, so he can stay. He can work that Thor bod out for, who knows, maybe all the way till he's 50. Here's a guy that I think is one of the smartest dudes in the entertainment business. By all accounts, he's one of the nicest guys in the world, but he also knows that this is a role of a lifetime for someone. And what he can do is he can get paid. He'll end up making Robert Downey Jr. money if he sticks with his franchise, even if another 10 years go by. I mean, that guy's probably, I don't know what he's making as Thor, but every film his price goes up. And if he does a Love and Thunder, I could see him playing Thor for the next 15 years because he knows he's got to get what he can, when he can, how he can. And right now he's still young enough that working out, not a problem. He has a jet-setting, great lifestyle. He's got a great family. I even heard once that one of the things he first did when he made his first big, he only made like $150K to do the first Thor movie. But when he got a bigger paycheck, the first thing he did was he paid his parents' debts. He bought his parents, he made them debt-free and got him a house. I mean, here's a guy that knows how good life is. He's going to get what he can when he can. I don't know. I think he's going to stay in the MCU for as long as he possibly can. And like you said, he's the Swiss Army knife of a character. So you can do – who doesn't smile when Chris Hemsworth comes on screen? I mean, I think that there's a lot of people that got pissed off with Fat Thor in Endgame, but that's only because they love him so much. And they set Fat Thor up to be transformed, whether it's in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Thor Love and Thunder. Man, I'm telling you, I wish I was that dude because, wow, what a life he has.
And you're right. The constant stories you hear around Hollywood are that he is one of simply the nicest guys out there. He just has a good head on his shoulders. He likes, family is number one to him. He spends exorbitant amounts of time with his kids. That how he gets time with his kids is always a part of his negotiation process in any project he's involved in. I mean, it's just nothing but good stories I hear from the dude. I've had a chance to meet and interview him a couple of times. He's always jovial. My favorite, some of you guys have heard me talk about this. My favorite experience ever in this career that I've had was, I can't remember if it was for Ultron or if it was for one of the other films, but I went to interview, I was interviewing Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth together. And I walked into the room and you normally get about 3 to 5, they gave me 5 minutes. You normally get 3 to 5 minutes. So I go in there and I sit down and they were fixing something on one of the cameras. So we had about 10 minutes just to sit down and chat for a bit. And it was nonstop laughing. It was nonstop laughing for those 10 minutes. So then try to get serious. And many of you have seen this interview that it's up on YouTube. We try to get serious. And I tried my best, Rob. I tried my best to be a professional. All right. I was trying to be a professional. And just, okay, let's do this interview. All right, guys, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I turned to Chris. It's in the first 30 seconds of the interview, I go to Chris Evans and I'm saying, okay, so you have done a terrific job really kind of embodying the spirit of who Captain America is and what the values, the core values, but also a man in transition. And you really are a great epitome of this character. And then Chris Hemsworth interrupts, is he? And once he said that, all hell broke loose. All hell broke. And like for the next number of minutes, for the rest of the interview, it was just the two of them. Like I thought they were going to pass out laughing. It is one of my favorite experiences of doing any interviews ever. If you guys can find it up in the chat, if you guys can find that interview and leave a link to it. But even what you see in the interview is nothing compared to what was when the cameras weren't rolling. They were fun. And Chris Hemsworth has always been that. He's always been jovial and fun and engaging, and it's just great to see. And I hope you're right, Rob. I hope we get to see Chris Hemsworth in this role for another 15 years. Anyway, guys, the question for you is, what do you think about this news? Maybe you're played out on Thor. Maybe you think, yeah, Chris Hemsworth is great as Thor, but it's time to move on to other characters. Maybe you're like me and you're thinking, no, man, give us as much Chris Hemsworth as Thor as you can possibly get. Where's your thinking on this? Jump down into the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys.